Sometimes you just never really know what someone's going through. Hey there, welcome to my epic journey. This is Brandon DeVere. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and sharing your time with me. Here we are on the journey from 600 to 0 to 600 plus and everything that falls in between. So, want to talk about the back to school drive to begin with. Very excited to do it and get it up and running. However, we didn't have a great turnout, which is a bummer. Of course, we wanted to take off, get crazy numbers and all that. It was about 114, 115 degrees here, so maybe that had a little part to play in it. But the good news is we still have about a month before we have to give out these backpacks. So we have the drive going on for the full month, and then also on top of that, we get the opportunity to everyone brainstorm and said, okay, how can we get more people here next time? So we're actually having an additional event on the 27th. So we're very excited about that. And sometimes you don't hit it out of the park with something that you think is going to work really well. It's sometimes a little difficult, especially in this climate right now, not necessarily the 115 climate, but the climate where, things are costing more, people are making a little bit less, it's the things like that can be difficult on people to have the ability to donate at this time. But you know what, we're going to figure it out and get moving forward. Very similar to today, I had my first call on the platform that I'm putting together to help with those 20 agents, to help them find their first 12 agents or their next 12 agents. But with that being said, I don't know that that's going to work right out of the gate either. It could hit right off right at the beginning. It could take 6 months, could take 12 months, and who knows, maybe it takes a year or two before it really gets going. But the plan is I have to be open to the feedback of not very many people showing up and not very many people getting not very many people having success with that. I'll have to wait and see how it is. Not to be open and be very I had the first call today, and I told them if this is something there's something you guys do all the time. This is the idea that I have. If you don't think that this idea or that we should change it a little bit, let me know. If you don't think this idea is going to work or you need to change it, let me know. I'm not so bullheaded that I'm be no, this is my idea. This is how it has to be. I'd way rather collapse that time and go, okay, this person did it this way and it didn't work. I don't want to do it that way. Then let's try and see if we can do it this way. So just basically, correlating those two as to a couple things that I haven't done before, and I'm trying to get them off the ground. And the first one basically struck out, man. It wasn't a great turnout at all. But you know what? Our mind and hearts are in the right spot. So we're just going to keep pushing forward with that. Another aspect that probably not the greatest time to throw this in there either, because it is so hot here right now. But a friend of mine decided to, if you follow Dr. Gary Brecka at all, things like that, like Dana White, there is a water fast, 72-hour water fast, which I am. What time is it now? I think I'm 17 hours into it for the 72 hours. But it consists of essentially, bone broth and electrolytes and water for the first day, and then day 2 and 3, it's just water. So we'll see. It'd be interesting to see how that works. And just for a couple different reasons, there are different health benefits. I'm not going to go on it to see what, to try and convince you to do it or anything like that. It's just something that I'm going to try and see how it works and see how I feel afterwards. I can read all about it, see if it's going to be good for me or not, or I can just, try it out and see how I feel. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that will land on both sides, that they think it's extremely unhealthy for you, and some people out there that will say that they've done it before and absolutely swear by it and all that stuff. So I'll go through it. Trust me, I'm not going to be crazy if I'm feeling like I'm actually getting sick or something from it. I'll definitely stop doing it. But as of right now, I plan on continuing it out. So if I seem a little irritated at some points, I've already warned the loved ones around me that if I'm irritated, it's kind of just fair warning. But what I really wanted to talk about was an experience I had over this weekend that kind of ties into the recruiting and attraction game, in that we can't, for our one interaction, we can't always base that interaction and know what's best for somebody, or maybe that something's not good for someone, or even their attitude. I know it's difficult. They say you never get a second chance to make a first impression. But really, those first impressions that we get, that might have been like the 1,000th impression of that person's day, but that was our first. So we hold on to that, not really knowing what's going on, and that kind of happened. So after we shut down for the school drive, super hot. So one of the guys on the team, I just texted him right afterwards. I was like, "Hey, Ernesto, go grab a beer," and he's like, "Yeah." So we went out, we went and had a beer, and while we're sitting there, a gentleman comes in, and he sits down, and we're not. Ernesto and I are talking. We're the only two that are there to start. When we get there, we're the only two there. So we're talking to the bartender a little bit, back and forth. How long you been in Vegas, all that kind of stuff. But another gentleman comes in, or a table of four comes in and sits down over across the way, and another gentleman comes in, sits down, and she remembers his name, and she calls him by his name, and she knew of him. So I'm like, oh, the regular, okay. It's been, I don't remember the last time I was even at this place, but and Ernesto had never been there, so we definitely are not regulars. So we did not know that if this guy was a regular or not. Well, he sits down, and he starts playing a little bit. We don't even hear what he asked for. We're sitting there. We see the bartender out making drinks, doing this stuff, taking an order, food order, goes to the back, and then she comes out, and it seemed like almost out of nowhere. He says something to her. She reacts, and they both start yelling at each other in the middle of the bar. She's yelling back at him. This guy's getting yelled at. She walks over to the other table, still yelling at him, and then they continue to like banter and yell back and forth for, probably another 20 minutes. And at first, Ernesto and I are like, "Oh, he's a regular. They're joking right now." But he was upset that it was taking too long to get his drink. She was upset that he called her out and was pretty rude about it. So there's these two people that so that's why we thought that they knew each other, because they were just they both got met at a point at that moment that some stuff has been building up probably for quite some time. She was super upset with it, angry, like kept going back and forth. This guy came over trying to talk to us, and I'm like, I don't know what. I have no idea. I honestly, for a second, I thought we were in like one of those hidden camera shows where somebody go like, how would you do this reaction? Because at first I was like, this is a joke, right? They're joking back and forth, and then it just kept going on. But this he's an older man, probably. I would say he's probably in his 80s, late 70s, early 80s maybe, and he came over and was like trying to talk to us, and he went back. He was asking us for her name, and I'm like, I don't know it. Ernesto got there before me, so he actually did get her name. And so we're just like, yeah, I no idea. And he's trying to explain to us what was going on. It was taking too long, and this and that. And then he went and sat down, and I think he was still upset. He ended up leaving. I think he was still upset, but also I think he recognized that maybe he overreacted, and both of them, I in my opinion, overreacted. But I think they were just at that moment in the day, or even that moment in each other's lives, that's where it was. And he was threatening to call her supervisor or the owner and tell them like what a terrible job she's doing. That's how they started going back and forth. And then he comes over to us as he's leaving. He pays. He still tips her. He pays. And this is a little bit different than most bars in outside of Vegas, right, or outside of Nevada, or any gaming place where gaming bars are. Because like up in Seattle area, we know Washington State, we don't really have gaming bars. I mean, you have pull tabs and stuff like that. But there are people who will come down, they'll sit in front of the machine at a regular bar, put their money in, play for a little bit, win, lose, whatever, and then they'll take off. But he came over to us afterwards, and he's like, "Yeah, I came in. He'd already lost. He's like, it's 115 outside. I wasn't going to come over, but I ended up coming over here." And then he talks about how he's got to leave because he has to go home and take care of his wife who has dementia. Now, for me, like that, whether or not that was an excuse or what, I don't know. But I grew up with my dad taking care of my mother who essentially had dementia. So I mean, that's probably what made me think a little bit about like knowing in the back of my mind, like, this guy, he wanted, I don't know. This is the story I'm building in my head, is that been at home with his wife. He wants a little rest. I know how demanding that can be. As I said, I watched my dad go through it. But here he is wanting to go out. Super hot outside. People are getting anxious anyways. Comes in. All he wants to do is he ordered a club soda. It wasn't even a drink. He like an alcoholic drink. He came in, club soda, and he was just, he said it took 15 minutes. I don't really know because I wasn't paying attention to what they were talking about because Ernesto and I were chatting. But it was also there wasn't much relief on the other side too. When he's there, he's getting frustrated that he's not getting his drink in a certain amount of time. It's a club soda, it shouldn't take that long. He's building this case in his mind is what I'm picturing. And then, the bartender was, I don't know what was going on with her. I didn't hear anything else. It wasn't that busy. Who knows? Maybe it was supposed to be her day off and she ended up having to come in, or maybe she's been working. Maybe that was a 12, 14-hour shift after she just, came off another shift from somewhere else. Maybe she's has all this stuff going on. And the reason I felt it was important to share this story is because, like, as we're talking to agents and we think that we have like the solution, the golden solution that you need to come here and be at this brokerage, and realize that, and we don't dive into anything else. Like if there would have been, like, imagine this guy starts going off on her, and instead of her going off back on him, imagine if she said, "Sir, I'm sorry. Is there anything? Is there something going on? Like, how can I help? Is this what you're really upset about?" Like, who knows? Maybe he would have got even more mad. I don't know. But maybe he would have said, "You know what? I've just been up, at home with my wife for, the last, few days, and she has dementia. I'm just super stressed out right now." Like, imagine that conversation. And I just think about how much communication plays into our roles as, like, getting to desired results and things like that. It just, I don't know. It really made me think about, as we come across these agents and we meet with them and you're like, oh, how can you be, I hear this one all the time. Like, I'm really loyal to my broker, and other people say, you can't be loyal to your broker. They're not loyal to you. But then you find out that broker actually helped, pay some bills for them, or did give them an advance on a commission, maybe that wasn't even coming yet, and really help them out, and they connect on a personal level. I could see how that would make somebody loyal to their broker. And I could see how that broker would be loyal to them and care about them. So without knowing all the stuff, like when we meet, that first impression, just saying, if you meet someone and things don't go great, or you think they're an idiot because they're not joining with your brokerage because it's the best for everybody, think about what is their history and their timeline to get to that moment when you meet them, because that's the first time you're meeting them. And who knows, maybe they come off and they're super upset at you because you are trying to recruit them and you didn't realize that they just got off 4 calls in a row with other recruiters trying to talk to them and tell them that they have the best spot. So that's just something that I wanted to put out there. It was interesting interaction that I witnessed. And I really think, like, at that moment, I looked and turned to Ernesto and I was like, this isn't what these two blew up at each other about. It was not over a 15-minute club soda. If it was even that long, I don't know. But I just like looking at other areas in my life right now where this is about. So even with buyers or sellers and talking to them, typically a lot of times we end up, we hear that, buyers are liars and sellers are storytellers. Yeah, because you don't have all the information from them yet. And whether or not they're going to give it to you, I understand that's a completely different thing. But honestly, like the more communication and the more understanding, I think the better off we'll all be. So if you are out there trying to recruit agents, attract agents, and you are not approaching it with some sort of grace to understand that that's the moment that you're meeting them at that moment right there. I mean, and it could come off where they're on a super high, like things are going great, everything's awesome, and they're really open to talking to you, and that's not really in their nature. And then the next time you talk to them and they're a little bit lower, we got to understand that the things are attributing to those highs and lows. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. That also, I guess a book recommendation can come from that is Getting to Neutral. And that was, I can't remember his name right now, but he used to be Russell Wilson's coach until he passed away a couple years ago. His life coach, and basically talking about staying even and not getting too high or too low, because we don't make great decisions when we're there. So if we can get people to that level of where they're neutral, then we can have good conversations. But just wanted to share those updates with you, and kind of shed a light on that story that I saw this weekend. So I will get back with you guys on the next one. Have a great one.